morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And apologies as my my alarm did not go off, and I just happened to turn up and saw the time. Obviously, we saw some big moves, and I was actually up rather late with the news when we saw the big moves, and I was watching the peso at the time. Speaking of which I'm on there right now, and I had done some work, and I was up late, and my alarm did not even go off, so apologies on that. But bigger move here was with the peso, and we actually hit, and I was doing this work actually before I had actually had gone to sleep. And looking here with the peso, we'd actually seen this move, which took us right to the 50% right there, just right above the 50%, because I have the 50% of 1970 and a half, which is a 50% move of this run here. Once again, apologies for the late start. My alarm did not go off, but once again, Trump had announced that there was going to be tariffs. He would impose tariffs on June the 10th. I was up rather late myself, looking at the peso, and I was looking at Darius where to come in. So I went and priced this chart, wanted to be ready ahead as we came into the webinar, and obviously ended up over sleeping. The alarm didn't even go off for me. So once again, apologies, but we've actually made it up right up here to the 50%. Well, 50% is 1970. But you can see we made it to 1974, well, 1973.965. So probably going to see the market just ease off just a bit from there. But we certainly, like I said, reached that 50% on that news with the tariffs. We're going to take a look at, look here. I mean, as I mentioned, I was following this so closely, I was even looking at it on a 5-minute chart. Hang on a moment, let me go in and move this around here. There we go. Probably pretty good little level there too. Let's take a look with the S&Ps. And I had actually stayed up late and was up doing some work on that too. So let's go on and move into the S&Ps right now. I did some little bit longer term work also with that. Be one moment. Actually, looking at this even on a weekly chart to look for some levels that we'd be looking at in case we saw things potentially break down. One of the things I'd mentioned in the during the Asian session was that we'd come into some support here at 1262. Breaking beyond that 1262, we had 2762. We had 2746 also. You can see that here. And even further below that was going to come into right there, 2736. And we'll take a look here with the daily, in case we were to go in and break even further here with today, because I think Trump could have mentioned a worse time to go and do, to announce a potential tariff. Well, it's not potential, but he announced that it's going to be on June the 10th. Just get some water here. So we actually did go in and come down here and break below that 2762, and we're trying to recover it. And we're just up here at this 2764. And remember, I had mentioned 2762 being key support here. So we just dipped below the 60 and then recovered just above it at the time. And let's go on and switch back into the main screen. Okay, there we go. So let's go in and take a look at the other pairs and get ready for today. We've already seen a pretty good move here with the, or at least off these lows with the euro. We'd seen one of the things we're looking at when this was happening, when this was announced, even Amanda had a chance to step in and was questioned, and I noted it at the time was that I didn't see that didn't see where the headline had come out at that moment, because I said, well, that was talked about earlier in the afternoon about the announcement, but actually Trump had tweeted that, definitely they were going to, now they would have the tariffs and specified the date, June the 10th. We've seen a bounce back up here with the euro. So let's go and get the buys chart ready here. And we'll start in place with the euro. One of the things that's been important is that this 1130 as far as support on a daily basis here with the euro. So we did go in and see right now so far we're successfully defending this area here. Let's go and take a look at it on a 2-hour chart, and we'll take a look at where our resistance is going to be. Well, this 1130 remains key. We're going to go on and keep it right there. For the support. And for now, we'll go with resistance at 1182, which is actually, if you look about at this, this would actually confluence here pretty much close to the trend line. We actually moved that up just a little bit hard to 1191. Let's see. It's going to be right there with the 1182. Called 1182. Still very bearish. Now, one of the things that we were referencing when this all was happening, had a few of the guys jump into the chat room shortly after the time, was that the thought here with the cash dollar index, and we'll get to that, but that we probably end up seeing this pull back. And my thoughts was, and as you know that I've been mentioning, is that with the manufacturing data that came out so poorly, and then even in the GDP data, there's no indication of any inflation, yet we've seen interest rates continue to go on and fall. Speaking of interest rates, let's go and move into that screen also. And I was noting this noting this in the Asian session. Was it, my thoughts were with U.S. interest rates I put on there collapsing, and manufacturing data and the potential for the Fed to cut in the fall, I would expect that the dollar would, start to slide. Now, like I said, it's the end of the month. They haven't pushed the flows, but once again, what I was looking for, and I mentioned that yesterday, was the dollar may make its last run, maybe into the up until the European session, and then after that, I would look for the dollar then to go on and start to slide and continue to slide going into the U.S. session. So my thoughts were that that'd be the last chance. Now that was before Trump made the announcement, so I really have a tough time seeing where the dollar is going to be able to go on and maintain here when you're looking at interest rates just completely coming unglued. So let's once again go back into the main screen. And we'll go right into the cable now. Well, yesterday we had our bias chart support at right here at 25.90, which was the 78%. And we did go on and dip down there. I think we got down to 25.83 or 82, 25.81-2, 25.82. And the market is still languishing near its lows. Things haven't changed a whole lot as far as the negative situation that we're experiencing right here with Brexit. That being said, I think we can probably see this start. At this point, I think it's going to be, unless you're looking for a much longer term basis, I think it's going to be rather difficult to stay to garner a whole lot more movement here with the cable. I think a lot of shorts would look to go uncovered. So we're looking potentially for a bounce here. With that being said, we haven't got much of a bounce. So we'll go in and keep this bias chart support here at 25.90. And let's go move into the 2-hour. Can't wait to take a look at this peso. So thinking that we do get some type of short-term bounce here, which I think is let's say it's a plausible, but certainly which I wouldn't necessarily even go as far as going to say likely, but certainly would be possible. Let's say at least that the resistance is going to come in right there at 26, right here, 26.83. That would be the resistance initially. We could push it even up higher here towards this 27.14, but your initial resistance is going to be right there, 26, right there, 26.82. There we go. No changes from yesterday. And let's go with the Australian dollar. So the Aussie dollar is really staying well contained. And even though you would have thought you'd probably see um, some additional downside movement in light of where equities are, one of the things that we covered in the news yesterday was that one of the gentlemen was saying the market has factored in so much bad news that potentially we could even see a bounce after the announcement if we were to get a cut, potentially in the RBA could see a bounce. Well, once again, with equities under pressure, we're not even seeing much even a move here with the Aussie dollar. It's just staying within these well-defined ranges. Obviously, that's going to suggest no change from yesterday. The support being 68.81 and resistance here being 69.56. And looking here in the Kiwi, we're seeing just the exact same thing. Basically, no movement here with the Kiwi. We're actually looking at the daily chart, but just simply no movement here. A little bit of a bounce up, but it looks on. You're thinking, then I have this on a 5 minute chart. That's when I was looking at the S&Ps also last night. You can see barely a move here. So no changes here with the Kiwi either. Excuse me. 64.96 and 65.76. And let's go and take a move here. Take a look now with the dollar CAD. One of the things that we've been referencing, even since the beginning of the week in our with the Asian analysis, was been what we call the elusive 3504 right here, and it had been just that. And we're referencing this also even in the wrap up video. Is that if we lost this 3504, we were in danger of that. And we said that we had we had actually put the support level in, indicating that if we lost this on a daily close, it would, put a rather nasty foul taste in the mouth of bulls. Now we're actually, once they announced that the Trump tweeted about the tariffs, the Aussie has rallied up. Now we did struggle around with this 37. It didn't fall off much, but just it would dip a little bit. What we're going to do is we're actually just going to keep this as our resistance, or push this as our resistance, and the 34.77, although very, very tight, we're going to list this as our support because it's going to be very, very important for the dollar CAD to retain this 34.77 on a daily close basis. You can see that right there. There we go. And it's going to be 34.77. That's going to be very, very key right here on a daily close basis. We'll see where we stand. We are seeing the dollar slip a little bit, but not a whole lot. But once again, I'm thinking these in-a-month flows are kind of helping it a little bit here, but we'll see where we stand here on this by the end of the day. Speaking of which, let's go and move into the peso, which really kicked things off, or the announcement kicked off. This is the one impacted pair. Actually, it's this up here that kept me up late last night, just prepping for this one to be all prepared. End up not being woken up by my alarm. So I looked at this, and one of the things we talked about, and we're looking here at the peso on the daily, was that we had broken above this trend line, but we were just mired in just, in neutrality, if you want to call it that, is because once we broke above it, you can see it's been on a buy mode, but we weren't doing anything. Matter of fact, we tried one little gasp and then we just sat there and just simply wasn't doing anything. Then, of course, the announcement, we run around, take off, and actually, I think I didn't see it. I think it already made it up to about, I think it was almost 50 before it pared back a little bit. And then actually, I think it made it about 55, I think it was. And then it pared back a little bit and basically sat there very quiet. And I had stepped away and I came back and I think it already tagged up in here in 50. So I said, let me go and do a little bit of work as to where we potentially can go to. And that's what I was up late doing this work and doing this chart. And I said, okay, well, I had this 1967, but I looked at this and 50% of this move came in right there at 1970. But we did, like I said, make it up here to 1973.965. Now, obviously, some risk aversion in place. The S&P is under pressure here. Let's go and take a look here. And you can see we talked about that 2762 as being a key level of support, but we're pushing below that. And that actually opened the door for this peso to make that run. But right now we're continuing to stay below this 2762. But like I said, when we look at here and I was, like I said before I went to bed, I was thinking, boy, wow, what are these support and resistance levels going to be on this thing? But this is a very key area here, this 1967. Let's see if we can find something on the 2 hour that pushes it out even further. So let's take a look at this. Right through that tip came in at right 1974.922. 1974.922. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. It's basically 1975. Let's pull this back. Excuse me. Let's go back here into the daily. And I thought about this, as I mentioned, not to beat a dead horse, but I was up late and I was thinking about, where is this market going to go to and what's its implication? Because initially, let's go on and go into the peso. And I think it's important. It's the one affected big mover currency for today. You can see we made this run up here and then we quickly started to pull back. And I looked at it and I said, oh, we've got some resistance here at 1960. I go, if that thing punches up here, maybe we tag it and then we start to pare back. That's what I was thinking about. As I mentioned, I was up very, very late. And at the time, I didn't even notice this. I think it tells it already, I think it rallied up to 50 and rallied up to like 58 or something like that. But I know that it already put in this high. So I guess we had this 59.30 and we were already come back down by the time I jumped into the Asian session and said, wow, I just happened to look up. What the heck? And I thought to myself, where's this thing going to go to and what are the implications? And as I look back, I went into the daily chart And I thought to myself, I go, wait a minute. And I go, because I was thinking where the S&Ps we could find some support. And yes, you'll see the peso being affected as, when we go to risk aversion. But that being said, this is actually affecting the peso directly because these are the tariffs. So I thought to myself, I go, wait a minute, don't try and fade this move. Okay, I picked up, I remember I was frustrated because I thought, wow, that 1960, it made it just about there. And we saw a nice little pullback. But I thought, this is a move that's probably going to carry on much further. And when I did the work, we'd come here, it was already blasting past the 38%. That's where I was immediately focused on the 50%. And I thought, this isn't a move that's just going to resolve itself anytime quickly. And I think right here was 1995 it was. Yeah, sure, 1995. We're going to post this right here also. Hang on. There we go. Potentially, this is where we're going to go to. So, although I think that we made this run up here, and maybe if the S&Ps hold their own and start trying to rally, and they're not in a position right now, they're actually at 2760 right now. I just saw 2759 a little bit on the print, but maybe we'll go and see a pullback. And my thinking is, I'm thinking about God, I sure hope some folks had stops in place that may have shorted. I mean, I'm sure this is a pretty good size move here that we saw here. But my thinking is that it's not going away. Let's adjust this to make this a solid. We may pause here and we may even pull back a little bit, okay? But even then, the pullbacks haven't been that strong. Although, once again, you wouldn't think so because if you look at here where the S&P is at, look at that. It's just hugging the lows. I was thinking to myself last night when I was up, Trump couldn't have torpedoed equities any better if he had tried. I mean, and almost announcing this on a Thursday evening, after the market has burned, equities have been under a ton of pressure. I was thinking to myself, this is like, kicking grandma down the stairs because once again, you're just going to create further pressure. And certainly that's where we are. And I think that's what they're going to do. And so that really opens the door for this to push even higher. You can see the peso even still trying to push higher. So getting back here is, this is a move that you're looking to want to fade. There might be some minor pauses, and if the S&Ps can hold, but I don't say they're going to hold at this moment because the pressure is going to be going into a weekend after a very tough week. They're going to press this thing for all she's worth, and that's why I was looking at the, up late last night, looking at the different levels for the S&P where it can go to. Now, as I mentioned, 2762 is a level. Then I've got 2746 and 2736. And those can be pressed today. So I think ultimately we can come up here to this 1995. Now, I was thinking, I didn't even know we were going to get here at this time of the morning. And I was looking at my chops to get all ready. I'm thinking, boy, this thing that's going to be the resistance. And well, heck, we've already made it here. So let's see, when we come here, if we try and press right there, that's some good resistance right there. So hold on. And that's 1972. I mean, to me, I think that the market is just open to head to this 1995, maybe even to almost to 20 cents. And we've already achieved this 50%. the S&Ps are trying to hold their own for right now. I'll tell you what we're going to do is we'll mark off 1972 6 as a resistance, but it's going to be twofold. So let's do this. We're looking here. Let's move in here. We did have 1974 9 on a 2-hour chart. We saw that. So hold on, from way back when. So we'll go 1975. Let's do it this way. There, 1975, 80, right there. Excuse me. Support. This is going to be interesting. Hang on. Yeah, here was that first resistance. By the time when I came in, we were already trying to push lower here. At the time when I happened to look up in Asia. Support now. Let's go right there, 1952.3. You see here we had that 1960. That was before it even, I'd already seen it pop up in Asia. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it had come so close. Right there's going to be the support right there. That spike high. And then it came up here and took it out just a little bit. This one stepped away, took it out just a little bit. When we come back down, that's why I thought, wait a minute, don't be so quick to try and take the other side. This thing maybe has some potential real movement here. So what we're going to do is we'll move the support right now is going to be right there, the spike. $19.59.2. Okay, it's 19.59.3. There we go. Definitely not bullish. This is the one pair, very exciting here because of the movement we've already seen in it. But as I mentioned, I think there's a potential for this to go and move higher right in here. And I'll get that chart. I'm going to go and post it into the room. But yeah, I mean, I hope some people, when they were doing this, were using stops because then they probably said, oh my goodness, this move. But I'm sure they would have seen that and probably tightened up those stops because Trump had actually made the announcement early in the afternoon. So when we had seen that reaction, Amanda had popped into the Asian session, and Amir had even posted about these, and I said, no, this was talked about. He was talking that, he was looking for this to potentially happen. I didn't think this administration it's unbelievable. He threatens it in the afternoon, and he actually tweets it, okay, it's in force, in the evening. And it just crazy. But anyway, that being said, he was thinking that they would go and announce they would have tariffs if Mexico didn't get its immigration under control, and then by a few hours later into the evening he says, okay, tariffs on June the 10th. So once again we saw this big move, and like I said, that's not going away, folks. So that's what I thought to myself. I go, wait a minute, don't be too quick to take the other side. This is directly impacting this, and it's not going to go away. So chances are, ultimately, we'll test this 1995. And there hasn't been very much of a pullback here. So now let's go and move into our other pairs. This was the big highlight story of the day. So going into the dollar yen. Oh wow, we did going to make it here. We did make that dip now. Um, Yesterday I'd had my bias chart support at 1892 or 999. I apologize. 991, and we actually took this out, I think, by a pip. But one of the things we're talking about was this how the market been holding this 927. And my thoughts were yesterday when we saw this making this run here. Let's get into the peso. And I mentioned, hey, we're at our bias chart resistance, which was 992. But at the time I said, hey, look, we're going to have to allow for a stretch level up to 1010 because at that time the dollar index, I mentioned this in the New York wrap, was making its highs here. Okay, so I thought, hey, we might even stretch a little bit higher considering how well that the pair had been holding the 927 level here. But at the beginning of the week, we had we said, hey, we don't want to get caught with our pants down. Here's our support, which was going to be 875. And sure enough, look, it made it to the 875, obviously under this equity pressure, certainly. So that is support right now at 875. We had actually adjusted that when the market started moving higher. But we have to factor, what if we do slide even further? But this 875 is very, very big support here. So unless potentially the S&Ps can become unwound. That's I think today's an exciting day because I think we can see the S&Ps come under further pressure. So once again, looking here, we're looking for further for support. Potentially, if we break beyond here, it's 816. So our bias chart is going to be there we go. And let's take a look for resistance. Well, you would think resistance is going to come in right here on the pivot, which is 927, but we'll take a look at it on the 2-hour. I don't know where we're going to be getting a bounce in the equities. I really don't. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think today's an exciting day because I don't see where is there anything you can hang your hat on. Although with Trump, you never can tell. Maybe he's going to say, well, which he did yesterday, say everything with China, things are getting better or looking better, or they want to do a deal. And then Pence, a couple hours later, announces in Canada, well, we're ready to have increased tariffs even more. So it's just nobody's on the same page in that administration. But where are we going to go on and potentially go to for resistance? At this point, it'd be 912. 912. I might have to push it a little bit higher here. Let's just call it 916. 916. And let's go and move into the cash dollar index. And we're seeing the euro continue to move a little bit higher. And one of the things, as I mentioned in the Asian session when all this was happening, we're looking for lower or looking potentially for the lower move in the dollar. Although once again, the dollar index, hey, you got to give it its due. There's nothing to indicate, hey, this is bearish. But my thoughts have been, I think I've repeated that multiple times, was that when you look at where interest rates are happening, let's move into that quickly. Look, interest rates are not falling. They're collapsing. Okay? They're not falling. They're collapsing. So one of the things is with it that has been so much stronger for the dollar is that we had, you know, excuse me, that divergent monetary policy, which the Fed is already, they've been, I don't want to say neutral, but I mean, they've stopped increasing. So we saw that. But still, other central banks were doing, like I said, whether more stimulus or whatever the case, still we had that going for the dollar. And it says the Fed had gone in a different direction, and even if they're holding for now, it's certainly they had holding that. Well, things have changed so much with the row with China, and now the potential for the economy to slow down. We've got an inverted yield curve, the 10 over the 30. Not only that, we mentioned, as I've mentioned several times, to me the biggest thing that I kept focusing on was that manufacturing data, which was the worst in a decade. And I saw a story here that was saying basically the bond market's doing the Fed's job, which would drop it lower, continue to move lower. But it's still not going to change things, folks. I mean, the news out of China is only getting worse. And then when Trump, and here's on the S&Ps, we'll go to the daily. I don't know who it was yesterday, was referencing Smoot-Hawley. And honestly, I look at this, I'm thinking, wow, this is doing a lot better than what I thought you would have thought. I'm just saying that's what I'm thinking, is that this market may start to get some legs on its own even lower and start depressing lows. As I mentioned, I was up late last night doing some of this work, and this makes sense that we're eventually, just like you said about the peso getting up to closer to 1995, which isn't that far away, but I think we're going to make a move down here to this 2,700 area, and 2713 is at 38%. And I don't know how quickly, but there's nothing, and look at the peso. Peso is still trying to push higher. There's nothing to really stop this. And you think about this, like I mentioned, I was thinking last night, he couldn't have picked a worse time. I mean, the equities were already under pressure. Basics like, knock grandma down the stairs, and there's no need. I mean, there's no reason these guys and gals are not going to press this thing for all it's worth. You see? So let's say there's, once again, not to sit here and keep making excuses, but one of the reasons I didn't wake up, like I said, the alarm didn't go off, but I was up till late, saying, boy, I want to make sure I'm prepared for all this, get the numbers available for everyone to see what we're looking at. And so here's that 2762 with the S&Ps right here coming across. Look at that. Very important support level here. 2762. We're below it right now. And then I was looking, where are the next available levels? And what I was looking at was 2746. And I looked at the time looking on the, and we're looking at the daily right now, but when I looked on the 2-hour chart, 2746, and below that, 2736. So these are what I think they can press to, although ultimately I think we're going to make a run to this 2700, and 2713 is at 38%. The reason this is so far back, because I was even looking at it on the weeklies. And now you see how important this 2762 is coming across. And right here, I can see them making a beeline for this 2736. So let's go on and jump back here to the main screen with the cash dollar index. To me, the dollar's losing its advantages here as we stay here. And one of the things I pointed out in the wrap up yesterday was I mentioned about the structure of the market and how many times we had pushed in here, made moves to the 97.89, and was not able to get up there, which is closer to 98. And then again here, and finally we broke above it, and we did back, and then we got back above it, and we lost it. But I don't see where there's going to be the drive to hang on to the dollar at this point. And I think ultimately the dollar may end up sliding in now. Like I said, if we lose, it's going to be interesting today. That 97.89 is going to be key once again. if we lose that on a daily close, so let's mark this as key daily close support. And let's take a look on the 2-hour chart. There's a 97.89. We'll go right here, 97.81. Right there, 97.81 initially, but if we do break lower on this, really that key level is 97.69. I'm going to have to stay with that. You'll see a pause here at 81, but this is where we'll find the better support is at 69. If things don't start really turn around against the dollar. So let's go with, we're going to stay with, we'll stay with what we had, the 97.69 area here. And resistance. Well, you can see this market hanging here at this 98.10 here, but that resistance still remains at key 98.15. So this will stay the same here. And let's go and move into the cross rates. Wow, look at this. You see, look at this peso still pushing higher. And that's the same, even on any kind of slight pullback, you're not seeing much, and we're looking at now on the 30. You see, even the pullbacks are slight. This market really wants to march higher. We mentioned that the 1980, maybe that's where we'll make that move. It'll take out the stops above 75. But once again, with this S&P under pressure, look at that. I don't see we're going to get any solace, and it's the peso that's directly impacted. So we'll be making that move to that 1995. See how quickly we get there. Let's go and move into the cross rates. Doggone it. Well, we finally made that move down here to 70.98. How much further we can push? Well, the yen is strengthening, so there's our support for right now, and we'll stick with that. Although we've been lower, let's take a look how low we've been is 70.85, which we got to 70.98. So I'm not going to deviate from that for a few pips. We're going to say that's the support. We'll see how much further they can pull back beyond that. Let's take a look on the 2-hour chart. It's going to be right there, 71.22. And let's go move into the euro yen. If the yen were to continue to strengthen, potentially we can come down here to 120.90. 120.90, so let's go mark that off. Resistance is going to come in right there, 21.87 for right now. $21.87. Let's go into the Euro Aussie. Support's going to come in right there at 60.80, 60.80 on the Euro Aussie. See that coming right across perfectly. And resistance will be 61.51. And let's go into the Euro Kiwi. We've had this 71.31 marked off, and that's going to remain the same. 71.31. We talked about really since earlier in the week here. Remember, it said better opportunities elsewhere if one is bearishly inclined the euro, and we haven't given very much up here. We'll take a look at this on the 2-hour. Support comes in at 70.70. That's not even much, look at that. But let's go and adjust this because it just has a support here, which is going to call it 70.70. As I mentioned, although the weeks are basically over, if you're bearishly inclined the euro, there's been far better opportunities than against the Kiwi. Let's go into the Aussie yen. So we've got down here the 75.31. And the Aussie's not moving that much itself. We reference that. If we do see further pressure in equities, which we very well may, we'll go with the 74.73 just in case. So 74.73. And for resistance, if we were to see a pop back, I don't expect it. I mean, actually, you could look for resistance initially being here at 75.46, but that's not even giving it much room if we do get some short covering. So we're going to go right there with resistance, 75.57. And let's go with the sterling versus the yen, copy. Holy smokes, man. This is really come under some kind of pressure. And right now, sterling's cable's below 126, although not a whole lot, but it's below. The dollar yen is on its lows, or just about 877. Let's take a look here on a 2-hour chart. $36.28. Let's go with that. $36.28. And for resistance, right there, 37.80. And let's go with the sterling versus the odd. Support comes in right there at 81.54. I'll go with resistance right there at 82.47. Let's go and switch back into the main screen. Well, the peso's still holding up very well. Let's go. Let's take a quick roundup. We're going to see it is into the month, but I would expect this dollar going forward to come under some pressure. Still holding up very well, but this run to equities hasn't sparked any massive buying. But I think once we get into next week, we'll probably see the dollar start to come in. Looking at the euro has come up a bit slow and is defending the 1130 for right now. I think we're really well overdone here with the euro. Moving into the dollar yen. Here's that pivot, but remember we talked about 875, and this market still remains under pressure as folks have moved towards the safety of the dollar yen. Not the safety of the dollar yen, I mean the safety of the yen. And I'm looking at the S&Ps continuing to remain under pressure. As I mentioned, I was thinking last night when I was up, I thought to myself, Trump couldn't picked an even worse time to try and, to announce something like this on a week that the market's already been weak. And then to do that, right before Friday, it's going to cause them to really press. 2762 is a key area. Beyond that, we've got 2746 and 2736. I think we're going to make a move to 2700 in not too distant future, and 2713 is at 38%. So once again, apologies, I was up. Alarm didn't go off because I'm so late doing this work trying to get prepared. We're seeing the cable now moving lower, and into the highlight for today has been the peso. And this is what we were referencing earlier is don't be too quick to step in front of this moving train, because as I looked at it myself and I thought this is a good opportunity back when it made the move in Asia, right before it got to 16, we saw a pullback into about almost 15 lower, I think down towards a 45. But as we started to move higher, I'm thinking like, wait a minute, this isn't going away anytime soon. And it's not only risk aversion, it's actually going to affect the peso itself. So my take is we're going to be getting to this 1995. We do have a level here. We saw it 1980 on the 2-hour chart, but and we may see a pause from there. But as long as we have this pressure and that whole issue, I think we're going to make it up here to this 1995 without too much trouble. I'll go and get the bias chart posted. Thanks for joining here. It's a European crossover webinar. And apologies, alarm didn't go off. I was up so late. I'm telling you, working on that analysis with the peso and the S&Ps that anyway, didn't even set it, didn't even think about it. Just happened to roll out of bed and so, oh my goodness, what time is it? But thanks again and good luck trading, and we'll be in the chat room and I'll get this posted. Thanks for joining us here in the European crossover webinar.